Welcome back to Critical Solutions. It's an exciting week for us with the long-awaited return of our podcast. And this season, we get into some pretty fun things, don't you think, Mason?
We absolutely do. I mean, we're going to bring on a ton of guests later on. We got people lined up like bartenders, lawyers, and we work together to try to solve each other's problems. It's going to be a good time.
And later this week, we have a new video series that we are launching on our YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe to see what we've been working on during our time away from you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be good. Now, speaking of all this season 2 talk, I know we talked about the White Lotus earlier, just kind of outside the pod. Have you seen season 2 yet?
I've not. I just recently watched season 1, but I really want to watch season 2. The cast looks great. I've heard good things. It looks fun.
So what are your thoughts on season 1? Because I have some thoughts that not a lot of people have agreed with me so far from who I've talked to.
Okay. Well, hold on. Before we dive into this, should we establish some boundaries on like spoilers or anything?
That's
what do
a
you
good
think?
point.
Should we...
When did season 1 come out?
Shit, I don't know. I feel like it was like 2021, something like that.
The last episode of season 1 aired August 15th, 2021. So if you haven't seen it by now, skip ahead a few minutes.
But with that in mind, then we can speak freely, I guess. Let's use that rule moving forward.
Yeah. We're not responsible for anything that's older than a year. That's your fault for not watching it, all right?
We'll spoiler tag. But okay, season 1, I did like it. I think, so I saw it after the Emmys had already came out, and it did work, and I feel like it swept everything in the limited series category. So the bar was kind of high, not even set by me, by like the Academy or whatever. So going in to watch it, I had high expectations, and I would feel like they were met. I was just trying to see, and I don't know if this has seen too many Marvel movies where all these separate stories are actually interconnected, and I was waiting on that to happen, and it didn't really. Like almost all these storylines didn't intersect like I thought they would. They kind of brushed shoulders, you know?
But barely.
I feel like that was disappointing until I realized that the very end of the last episode, I kind of clicked that all we see, this is just a glimpse in a week of these people's lives, and we're getting a sample of what they're doing.
I'm with you. It's kind of the same thing like you were saying, where this whole time these people are having these different conversations, and the way that it's framed in the show is like, you know, they have this really eerie music behind like conversations that are just outside of like what a normal conversation is. Like I know there was the one moment where Alexander Daddario's character, who's married to that asshole, she is like by the pool talking to those 2 teenage girls. Like it's not that weird without the music. It's just kind of like a bunch of bitchy teenagers just being rude to this one girl at the pool. But they put this weird like just like weird eerie music behind it, and it's making me think like somebody in this conversation has like motives or something, or like this is going to connect somehow later, that there's going to be a payoff.
Right.
And there was just never any payoff. And I feel like that was kind of a theme throughout the whole season, is like they just teased like these things could be connected. You don't fucking know. We don't fucking know. And there's just never any payoff from that. So like, needless to say, I hated season 1 of The White Lotus.
Really? Holy shit. Okay.
I'm with you. Like there was so much hype around it. I had such high expectations. So I went into it, and, you know, you see that first episode or the first scene where it's that dickhead and he's in the airport and he sees like the human remains being loaded up onto the plane, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, he says something along the lines of like, oh, you know, like my wife's not here.
This is my honeymoon.
It was my honeymoon. She's like, where's your wife? He's like, oh, he's not here. She's not here. Something like that. And so, you know, that's a little tease. It's like, oh, is his wife the one that died? Is he the one that killed her? And like, so right away, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like, it's going to be a little murder mystery thing. But then it changes into what you were saying, and it's like, oh, it's just like a glimpse into these people's lives. Oh, and by the way, the guy walks into a knife accidentally at the end, and that's like, what? The guy, like, the thing that's been teased the whole season, and there's been so many of these like eerie conversations throughout, and this build up to who knows fucking what. And the actual murder is so underwhelming. Like, I just hated it, man. I did not like it at all.
Totally fair. I get it, man. It's nowhere near my favorite or anything. And since this is a show about solving problems, the problem with the show, I don't think was necessarily much that the show did wrong. I enjoyed what their goal was, and the journey it took us on. But I think if I had seen it before I had heard all the hype and saw all the awards it won, all these things, and just kind of went with a clean slate, I would have appreciated it more, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
I probably agree. I probably would have liked it more too. It's made like a good show. Like the characters are all really well written, I think, and like the dynamics between them, they all feel really uncomfortable, which is what they're going for, you know? Like they did a good job like invoking those emotions and all that. But in terms of like the story, that's my main problem with it, is just like the plot of the show. There's just like things missing, you know?
Doesn't really go where.
Now, I will say, I know you haven't seen season 2. Season 2 does a much better job of it.
Really? Okay.
Where like the characters are even more well written, I think, and like the dynamics between them are really good, and they actually connect a lot more. So that's good. And then
makes sense.
At the end, the murder is, or the death, whatever, the climax is a much bigger payoff, because it's not, again, spoilers, like in season 1, the guy just like accidentally walks into a knife, like, which is so underwhelming. Whereas season 2, it's like an event, something happens, you know, and it's a payoff. It's not the ending that I necessarily wanted. There's like one thing that happens in it that's, you're just like, what the fuck? But other than that, season 2 was much, much better.
Okay, good to know. I just looking at the cast, I like a lot of, and I love season 1's cast was good. I love Steve Zahn. I think he's hilarious. He was good, and the manager was good. I know
the manager was. It was pretty funny to watch his downfall, I will say.
I know. I was a little sad that he's not around, because I wanted a season 2 to have him in it. He was nuts.
Yeah.
But Michael Imperioli's in season 2, and he's one of my favorite actors. He's in my favorite TV show. But so once I saw that, I was on board. I'll get around to it, so then maybe we can come back to this.
Yeah. No, the reason I bring this up actually is because we've been talking a lot at work about like our favorite TV shows of all time.
Yeah.
So basically, we've been talking about this so much at work that everyone that I work with in my department has made a list of their top 10 favorite TV shows, which we also did before this podcast. So I think it would be fun.
Yeah, Mason got me to do it.
Yeah. I got to watch Josh struggle through picking his favorite shows. But yeah, I thought that'd be fun to talk about if you want to go through our top 10 and see how they differ.
Yes. So I mentioned Michael Imperioli was in my favorite show. So my number one.
Oh, do you think we should start with 1 or 10?
Oh, now 10. This sounds more intriguing.
I mean, we got to save the build up, right?
Well, are we starting at 10? Are we doing, what do you have? Fucking 15? Are we doing 15?
Yeah, I have a shit ton because, like I said, we've been talking about this all week. So, like, I made my top 10, and then people keep reminding me of shows, and I keep remembering stuff. So, like, I have past 10, but we can just stick to the top 10.
It's a working list.
Yeah, right. It's a living, breathing document, this list. It's going to continue to evolve. But yeah, we
okay, so we're
10.
starting at 10 and going, 10 and back up. So my number 10 I have right now is, and also I brought up, are limited and mini series included in this, or do they have to be separated? Because they're separated at award shows. So anyway, we included them for reference. But my number 10 is a mini series, Chernobyl.
So Chernobyl I've never seen, but I can assume what it's about.
A little straightforward on that. Yes. Did you watch The Last of Us?
No, I did not watch that either, actually.
Okay. I didn't either yet, because I got to beat the game first. But anyway, the creator of that is Craig Mazin. He did Chernobyl. And he actually did a bunch of like comedies back in the day, which is hilarious because they're way different than what he's doing now. But he's really good. Anyway, Chernobyl's great. It's not a documentary, but they do a lot of it close to how it actually was, apparently. And they had a podcast that came out with it actually at the same time. Craig Mazin was on it, and he just talked about deeper elements to the show and like why certain things happen, stuff like that. Extremely fascinating, and it's done really well. Jared Harris is in it. He's great. And the Skarsgård dad, I don't know the dad's name, Stellan Skarsgård, he's in it. He's fucking great. Yeah, check that one out.
Is it a matter of just that there's better shows, or is there something, are there flaws that put that at 10 instead of like 5?
So this one has some restrictions because it's based on real events, you know what I mean? So that's already kind of limited in the things it can do, and it does all of it very well. but it's only 5 episodes. So I think that just kind of
There's only so much you can do.
right. It's kind of like a really long movie-ish. Not really, but like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's in that territory when it comes to runtime.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it's just hard when there's 86 hours of my favorite show versus 5 hours of this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
definitely. My number 10 is the complete opposite. There is arguably too much content for this show. Coming into my number 10 is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. One of
Good choice.
the
Love
funnier
it.
shows I've seen. It did go on
It's
for a
good.
bit too long, I think.
It's never going to stop.
It's never going to stop. Like, once, and this is a big theme. Like, one of my shows that, like, just barely didn't make the list was Community for one of the same reasons, is that
Yeah.
once shows start switching around characters and, like, one character leaves, even if it's just for a little bit and comes back, like, it changes the dynamic and it's really hard to recover from that, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, there's a point in Always Sunny where, like, Dennis dips out for a season or something to go, like, raise a kid, which is, like, super weird, and it, like, I remember they brought Mindy Kaling in for, like, a few episodes and she was just horrible. Like,
Ooh, I like her, but I feel like that'd be an odd
she's
fit.
not right for that show. Like, she
Yeah.
got brought in as a character that's supposed to
She's
be...
too clean.
That's exactly, like, she was brought in as a character that was supposed to be, like, a voice of
looks too
reason, and she
clean.
did, like, look very clean. Like, she was
Oh,
brought in
okay.
as, like, a normal person, and they tried to, like, insert a normal person into their dynamic, and it just didn't work.
No,
Because anyone who's seen this show...
she's not a piece of shit enough.
Exactly. Anyone who's seen the show will know that it's about 4 people who own this bar, and they're just all the biggest pieces of shit. And they screw
So
people
good.
over, and they are very, very selfish. And then they just add this Mindy Kaling character who comes in, like, trying to make their bar better, and then is appalled when she sees them do all these things. So I don't know. It fell off near the end, which is why it's at 10. If you haven't seen it, you're looking for something to throw on in the background, do that.
So real quick, Larry David, he talked to Rob. I can't never say his last name
McElhaney or
correctly.
whatever, the guy that plays Mac.
Yes, talked to him and just told him, he goes, don't ever end it. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, no matter how you end it, they're going to hate it. Because he was part of Seinfeld. He co-created
Yeah.
Seinfeld. People hate the ending of Seinfeld. And he was like, just don't ever end it. And so I think he's really doing that. And he's like, meaning there's going to be a point they're not going to make more of the show, but they're not going to like end it. It's just going to stop.
Yeah. And I actually fuck with that.
Yeah, why not?
Who needs a conclusion? It's a sitcom, you know?
100%, man. It doesn't have to get all these loose ends. Because one, there's really not like a ton of loose ends anyway. They're just kind of
Everything is resolved
doing their
within the
shit.
same episode, more or less.
Yeah.
So
Same thing with we'll get into Seinfeld later.
Yeah.
But so are we working up
Yeah,
now?
what's
So we're
your
on
9?
9. Is that right? So number 9. This one was tough. I put Severance. It's an ongoing show. Only one season has been out, but that one season was so good. I feel like it warrants it being a 9, even though there's not a lot going on and there's like a lot of loose ends, obviously. But even if it only existed as season 1, I still think it would be a great show. But it's on Apple TV Plus. If you don't have that, you should totally check this one out.
yeah, that's the one with the guy from Parks and Rec, right?
Adam Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
They like take away like your personality or something. I've seen like one episode of it with my parents.
So it's like you split your personality in half between, it's your memories they cut in half, but your like memories make up who you are essentially. So they do a thing where when they're at work, they go down this elevator and it like triggers this thing that clicks in their brain to where they forget their whole personal life, like to the point where they don't like even know their name, things like that. But they still have like you said, kind of personality, but they're lacking a lot of
they
parts.
lack all the distractions so they can focus on work, right?
Right. And so then when they go back up the elevator, it switches again, and then they remember all their personal stuff. They have no idea what they did at work that day or what they did yesterday or the year before. Or so they have like 2 people in one body, essentially.
Yeah. No, it's a
amazing.
super interesting idea for a show, because part of me is like, that would be pretty sick if I could just show up to work and just be like a new person that day, because then it's like you wake up in the morning to go to work and you almost at that point don't even dread it, because it's like, I'm just going to take a nap essentially for a little bit.
Right? That's what you think. And then you're putting like another version of you in a box, like it's a prisoner.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like think about a version of you that only fucking lives at work. Oh my God, that is torture.
I guess you're right, because like the personal life you would probably be incredibly happy, But the work life you just eat, sleeps, work. Like, yeah, no, that's
Yep.
insane.
You
So
gotta check it out. And Ben Stiller directs a lot of it, which is super cool.
it's an interesting person to have direct that.
Dude, he kills it. He's so fucking
Shit,
good.
good for Ben.
You gotta
Good
check
for
it out.
Ben.
So at the Emmys, the year that it qualified, it didn't win. I can't remember what won. The show that won, the creator or whatever even said like, "Wow, shout out to Severance," because he even was like, "Oh shit, I can't believe we won over Severance."
Oh, damn. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that one out. I'm going to add that to the list. My list is so large. My number 9.
All right, your number 9's a fun
Well,
one.
yeah, one that I know you have some thoughts about is Ozark. For anyone who doesn't know, Ozark is just about a guy who launders money for a cartel. And then he gets himself in precarious situations.
And that one, I really wanted to get into a bunch because I love knowing when, similar to the Ben Stiller thing, how Jason Bateman directed, I think, the first 2 episodes of that. So good. So good.
Yeah.
And it's like not funny in the slightest. And he's starring in it. So like that was such a cool element.
Yeah, no, like with any show, there's like comic relief here and there. But for the most part, it's like you're kind of always on the edge of your seat. You know, there's really no telling what's going to happen. No matter where you are in the show, the next scene could be any character getting shot in the head at any time.
Makes sense.
I really like it for the suspense of it all. And because it's like a thriller, I guess, that's not super action-packed. And it's more just like you get to see kind of behind the scenes of like who the people that are working for these drug cartels and like force for them and like how they get into that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a cool concept. I like. And I was all on board for. My issues with it would be when we're going to spoil some shit here in season 1. So I only watched through season 1. But when something happens and the son is like outside or something and he's inside and he hears somebody come inside. He thinks somebody's in the house. He runs out to the forest to get his gun that he buried or some shit and comes back in the house and he's creeping up the stairs and he can hear someone, like he knows someone's up there. And he's walking up with his gun and his fucking friends or someone just pull up outside, honk, and he just forgets that some fucking stranger is in his house and he just runs in the car and they just drive off. He doesn't tell his parents, tells nobody. Like that had to suspend my belief so drastically right there that it yanked me out of the show. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. So anyway, that happened. I was like, whatever, I want to keep watching this. And then I want to say either that was the straw that broke my back or the fucking when the wife was freaking out about the body. Somebody died and they tied a body to the dock or something by their house where they were staying. Anyway, and she's like, oh my God, we have to call the police. Someone call the police. And she's like screaming and like being loud and making a scene and all this shit while she
Wife
knows
is such a
he's
bitch in that show.
Dude. And her saying they got to go to the police after she just found out. And like, it's been enough time she could process it that he's been laundering money for the cartel and she wants to call the fucking police. So obviously this was like wrapped up with the cartel stuff, this death, this body laying here. And he's kind of involved in a way. So like, why that was just so fucking stupid. And then they get like there's just too many things where characters acted like
so dumb,
to me, unrealistic, to where I had to suspend my belief so much that I couldn't continue. So like, it was the writing for me. I couldn't do it.
I agree. There are definitely parts like that, especially with the son, Jonah, walking up the steps and then just like, it'll be fine. You know, so like maybe the show's trying to get you to believe like, you know, is there a possibility that it's just like his sister? You know, is it a possibility that noise is nothing and then he just decides to drop it, you know? Because, you know, we've always...
No, they showed us. You saw the guy. They show us the dude in the house.
They show us the dude. They don't show Jonah the dude.
But he knows something's there, like he hears it, and we know he's hearing something, and he's concerned. Because I think it was established like he's home alone, too. I might be missing that part.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then his friend just pulled up, and he just hops out.
Don't get me wrong, I completely agree with you. But, I mean, you know the kind of, the paranoia when you're a kid and you're home alone for, like, one of the first times, you know? Like, every single noise you hear is like, what was that? You know? So it's like, and then you kind of just make yourself...
But I feel like you would know if somebody's there or not.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a difference.
But... I don't know. You're 100% right. There are some bad writing spots like that, and the people in the show act incredibly stupid almost all the time. For me, it's still like the logic isn't really what does it for me. It's just like the suspense and just sitting in the like who's gonna die next kind of thing. And like there's so many completely irrational and so many irrational characters that just do whatever for any reason. Like there's really no predicting what's gonna happen, which is what I liked about it.
I get why it was cool, like, and people liked it, but there's the huge plot points hinged on those stupid decisions, and to me, that's just like shitty
100%.
writing, and I'm like, no, not about it.
I will say we talked about endings. The
Definitely.
ending is decent. It's like a B+ ending, I think.
Really? I heard a lot of my friends hated it.
I think it's like back and forth. It's like some people hate it, some people like it.
Yeah,
The people that hated it just
like Larry David said.
yeah. Well, I think the people that hated it had an image in their head of what the ending was going to look like, and then it didn't pan out that way. So we can move on. What do you have at number 8?
Number 8, another Apple TV Plus show, For All Mankind. Have you heard of this one?
Never even heard of that once. No.
So it's space, kind of in the name. Obviously, they kind of hint at that, but it's if the Russian or the Soviet Union beat us to the moon back in the day.
Oh, maybe I have heard of that. What sounds familiar?
So good. It's that mixed with, so that means like the space race never ended. So it goes, they do time jumps like through the decades and things like that. But I'm a huge space fan, so it's really good. But that has great writing. Probably my all-time favorite TV characters in that show. They did a really good job. But it's not a lot of people have Apple TV. But check that one out if you ever.
I think with Ted Lasso, a lot of more people are getting Apple TV.
I know, but that's ending this season. I can't believe that.
Is it confirmed this is the last season?
Yeah.
That's sad, but I like it. I like a show like that needs to not have 9 seasons, you know?
I agree. They do a good job with it. Leave while you're on top.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's my number 8. It's a fun one. Check it out if you're into sci-fi.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have a lot to say about that, but that sounds like a good one. My number 8 is Money Heist. If you watch it in Spanish, it's maybe called La Casa de Papel because it is originally made in Spanish, which is kind of a turnoff for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you can either watch it in Spanish with English subtitles if you're an English-speaking person only, you know, or the way I watched it.
Why do you call me out like that?
Yeah, sorry. If you're not fluent in Spanish, you're probably not smart enough for this show. Kidding. But no, the way I watched it is the English dub over them speaking Spanish, which I know is really hard for a lot of people because like the mouths don't match up with the words. But just try not to look at their mouths, you know, because if you don't and you can get past something like that, it is incredibly suspenseful. And it's just kind of like a stereotypical heist show, you know? So like if you find that stuff...
Heists are fun though, man.
Right, they're fun, but I know a lot of people find that stuff cringy. And it's like, oh, but you know that one Rick and Morty episode? But I double-crossed you or whatever.
Oh,
it's like a lot of that, but it like the plot twists are very much, they have good payoff, and it's super suspenseful, and it's got some of the highest stakes I've ever seen in a heist show or movie. So
shit.
It's really good. There's 4 seasons of it. Over the 4 seasons, they do 2 different heists, I think. And yeah, it's really good. I highly recommend.
Check it out. What's it on?
It was on Netflix when I watched it. I think it's a Netflix original.
It sounds like how you said people don't want to watch sometimes if it's in a different language. Like, do you watch Pan's Labyrinth?
I did not.
Oh shit, it's in Spanish, but it's amazing movie. You should watch it. It's Guillermo del Toro.
Okay, yeah.
Like Shape of Water, all that stuff. Yeah, it's good. You should check it out. But it's like that.
Okay, cool.
Gotta have subtitles.
Yeah, that's how it goes. What you got at number 8?
All right.
Or 7.
Or we're 7. Band of Brothers. That one, I feel like I probably could have put a lot higher. It's a limited series or whatever, so it just has 1 season.
I've heard of that, but what's that about?
World War II. So it's the paratroopers, whatever battalion. I don't remember what it is, but it's super good. Woodley, however the fuck you say his name, is in it.
Okay.
There's a bunch of people. When you see the guy that plays Ross is in it.
David Schwimmer?
Yeah. And he's a dick. He's really good. It's a great show, man. You should check it out. It was at one point the highest rated documentary show on IMDb.
Oh.
User rating.
What's it on?
It's really good. Just 10 episodes. HBO.
HBO. Okay. HBO's making I don't want to say a comeback because it's not like they were ever ahead.
This is old. It's like from 2000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's an old show. It's good.
Yeah, before very recently, the only good shows I had heard about on HBO were Game of Thrones and Curb Your Enthusiasm.
What?
Yeah, I'd never heard
Sex
of
and the City, Sopranos, The Wire. There's so many.
On HBO Max? Or whatever the...
Yeah, it's HBO. That's OG HBO.
Oh, maybe I'm just living in ignorance. Those are all shows I haven't seen. Sopranos is one I've meant to see for a while, but honestly, I just kind of assumed it was on Netflix this whole time.
No, it's HBO. HBO got it all going.
HBO's got some good shows. Underrated streaming platform.
Yeah.
My number 7 is a Netflix show. Netflix original, I think. Peaky Blinders. It's a weird name for a show, I think, and it's a weird name for what it is. Like, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a gang in... What's the time period? Do you remember?
I don't even know. I only saw the first 2 seasons a long time ago.
Post-World War I or II, Birmingham or something like that. I think post-World War I, pre-World War II.
I believe.
Yeah, it was in between the 2 world wars. It's just a gang of little British people. But it's really good. It's really suspenseful, and it's gory. So if you don't like blood, stay away. But it's... You say you've seen it?
First 2 seasons.
How could you possibly stop after 2 seasons?
I don't know, man. I think... So, funny thing that happened, I was watching that, and I think it's because it's not where it's set.
Oh, I think where it's set is so cool. Just like the slums of Birmingham, you know?
I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. And it's not like... It's cool. I like the show. It was good. I just don't... I don't know. You know what I mean? I didn't, like, stop watching it and, like, kept thinking about it. There's shows that do that. So, to get my fix, I started Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, I never even heard of that.
Oh, really? It's like the U.S. version of that, essentially, kind of, and has Steve Buscemi.
That,
it's good.
It's very white of you, Josh. It's very American of you.
Hey, Scorsese directed the first episode, okay?
Okay.
I think he helped create the show, actually, so it's like, it's part American-Italian then. He's got his influence.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
It's good. That's set in the 20s.
It's set in the 20s.
That one's cool.
I think that's, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
That's a good one. But yeah, I need to come back to Peaky Blinders. One of my other friends, that's his favorite show. So
yeah, favorite show is a bit of a stretch for me. It's a great show, but like it's got its flaws for sure. Like that's
fair.
The ending is not necessarily.
I heard
it's good, and I don't want to say memorable because it is a memorable ending, but like it doesn't top the thing is it's so suspenseful throughout. That like the ending isn't any more suspenseful than like the middle of the season because it's all really, really suspenseful. So it doesn't like increase that level at the end. So it's kind of hard to like, it's not as memorable because it's not anything distinct about it.
That makes sense. That's a good way to put that. It's like your tolerance for the suspense is so high.
Exactly. It didn't change the way I was feeling at all. It just stayed that way. So yeah,
it's kind of stopped. Okay, that's fair. That's interesting. All right. We're moving on to 6, Stranger Things. I'm surprised I put it this low, to be honest with you. I absolutely love Stranger Things. I'm just going to start with the issue with it. Stop taking so fucking long to make a goddamn season. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Well, I mean, after season 1, it's very evident that or maybe it was after season 2, that they just got so much more funding for it.
Oh, yeah, the scale increased exponentially.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why that's not on my list is because like I loved season 1. I think it was perfect, and they should have kept it that way. Like the whole thing was about like it's a small town, like nothing happens in this town.
Shout out Indiana.
Super secluded, and like it's supposed to be small scale, and that's kind of what makes it really scary for me. Is like one kid goes missing. That's a huge deal, though.
Right. In small town, yeah.
Right. Whereas in the later seasons, it's like we have Hopper fighting communist Russians in actual Russia, like breaking out of Russian prison. What have we gotten ourselves into? God. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, it jumped the shark a little bit for sure.
I agree. And when people say that, I'm never like, oh, weird. I am a huge 80s nerd. No idea why. It's just like, if I could go back, that's where I would be. I love the fucking outfits, the fucking music.
Yeah.
The movies back then. Like, everything was so fucking tight back then. So I'm like so absorbed with that aspect of it that I can overlook a lot of this shit. And I just love like the horror sci-fi-ish feel of it. But your criticism's 100% valid, I think, man. Let's do some solving on this real quick.
Okay.
So what would you have done to keep, like, I know you kind of mentioned, but like, what would you have done differently?
Is it season 2 that Max is introduced? Or is that season 3? I think it's season 2, right?
I think 2.
Because that's when they're like trick-or-treating.
Yes.
So I love Max's character. I think that was a super great addition. But the death of her brother the death of Eddie Munson, the death of Barbara, like all these side characters that just die. I think they need to not be afraid to kill off more important characters. Because when they did,
Bingo.
when they teased Hopper's death and he had that whole like sacrifice, like hero moment, he should have just died. They should have not been afraid to kill him off right there. Because then it's like,
I agree.
Because first of all, I totally called it, and I think a lot of other people did too, that Hopper did not actually die.
They fucking teased it like in the after credits. Like, come on, at least give us like the break of the seasons to think he might be dead. They couldn't even give us that.
No, and even like while it was happening, like it happened, and then like next scene, whatever. I was like, oh, that's weird. We never saw Hopper's dead body. You know, like
Exactly. But you saw the other guys in the room dead bodies.
right. And when you kill off no main characters, nobody important, and then all of a sudden you tease that, and then you don't show us his dead body, it's so obvious that he's not dead. You know?
Yeah.
So I think
agree, man.
that is definitely one of the things I would change. And like I said, with the whole Russian thing, I think, what's his name? Like the Russian guy that was with Joyce and Hopper and the weird guy
with the glasses.
with the glasses, he
Yeah.
ended up dying.
And everybody loved him.
Everybody loved him. That's like Stranger Things' MO. Every season is like introduce a super lovable new character, except I guess Max's brother in that one season was
Bob.
not like Bob. Yeah. Introduce a super lovable side character and then just kill him off. It's like, okay, you know how many people I talked to before the end of this most recent Stranger Things season, and they were like, oh yeah, Eddie Munson is a goner. Like from episode 1, it's like, oh, the lovable side character they introduced,
There's a
he's
formula.
dead. It's not even, and his death was badass. It was a little bit unnecessary. It didn't make sense for the plan.
That was sick, though.
It was
with the guitar.
sick. He didn't need to do that.
That was so cool.
It was sick.
Yeah, I get all that, man.
Yeah, like the deaths
You're right.
are handled not great. And then I think that they, as much as I like some of the parts with the Russians, they needed to not make it that big. Like maybe make it a secret Russian society, not like the country of Russia.
Yeah, I agree, man. I did. And then just real quick, going back to my beef, I know we need to move on. Don't take so fucking long to make seasons. Like, I know it went through COVID, but even that, it took them like almost 3 years to come out with a season.
Well, and they filmed during COVID. It's not like they stopped production. Like they filmed during COVID.
And you're filming children growing up, and like that plays a part in the plot. And my favorite thing was how it was like between season. What did we just watch? 4?
4.
Okay, so between 4 and 3 was like almost 3 years real time, but in the show it was like 100 days, and they all are like. Fucking Finn Wolfhard walks in. He's a foot taller.
Yeah.
He's like, oh.
He's like a hodler in the first season, and only like 2 years have gone by.
But then they're saying, see, exactly. And then like they're saying the next season's gonna have a time jump. It's like, why didn't you do that here?
Yeah.
This shit. Like that one was kind of stupid, but I liked it. I like the whole Vecna thing. I don't fucking know. I'm totally on board.
I will say,
I love the show.
I agree. We need to move on from this, but my last beef with this show. I love the Vecna thing. I love what they did. And I like how that mystery keeps getting like deeper and deeper, you know? There needs to be something more that they can fight with that's not just 11 sitting there going, oh, for 9 minutes.
And crying.
You know? Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like a fight scene, you know? Like there's supposed to be like a battle.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't happen. It's just like I can scream louder than you. I feel like they're not getting as creative as they need to be with like, I don't want to say combat because it's not like combat, but like
give them some lightsabers. They already got the Force.
yeah, like the climax is there needs to be something else there.
I feel it.
But yeah, we can move on. My 6 is I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. It's on Netflix. Funniest show I've ever seen. A lot of people will disagree with me, but that's just like my kind of humor. Like that's my shit, you know?
Yeah, so let's say if it's your humor, boom.
Because it's just like sketch comedy. It's like every episode is like 4 or 5 different sketches, and Tim Robinson is just such a funny motherfucker.
He is. The clips I see of it, it's hysterical.
Oh, it's so fun, and they're just nonsense. You know, it's a lot of fun. They have a lot of like big name actors do it. Like I know Bob.
Oh shit.
Bob Odenkirk is in one of them.
The King of Sketch.
The King of Sketch. Glenn from The Walking Dead. I don't know what his actor's name is, but he's in one of my favorite episodes.
Is that the guy that's in Beef?
I don't know. I haven't seen Beef. Let me see.
Is he Asian?
Yeah.
Okay, so people mentioned that. I think he's the dude in Beef.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, he's a great actor. I loved him in Walking Dead.
Okay, good to know.
not much to say about that one. It's just super funny. It can't go higher than 6 because a comedy is just not going to make my top 5, you know?
That's fair. I get you.
Anyway, to get back at it, what's your number 5? Breaking top 5.
Number 5, Breaking Bad. I know that's probably pretty low for a lot of people, but
pretty low for sure.
Really like it. I haven't watched it in this year's 10 years. I don't know. I just think it's not that low because I don't like it. I just think there's too many other shows I would put ahead of it. I don't know. I don't know. I like it though. It was good. I really don't have any beef with it.
What stops it from being like a 10 out of 10 show?
It is a 10 out of 10 show.
There's just 4 other 10 out of 10 shows that you've seen.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna hold the rest of your shows to the Breaking Bad standard.
Moving forward,
because I mean, everyone talks about it. You know, there's the fucking annoying community of Breaking Bad fans who go up to everyone and say, "Have you watched Breaking Bad? Have you watched Breaking Bad? You need to watch Breaking Bad."
Yeah.
But truly, it is one of the greatest shows ever made.
Never mind. I have a reason. Forgot.
Okay.
I was talking to someone about this. Again, I haven't seen it in like 10 years, so now would be a good time for me to rewatch it. But I tried to rewatch it. Okay, so maybe I did see it like 9 years ago. Like a year later, I tried to rewatch like the first season. And I think if you remember too much of what happens, it's not as good of a show. It relies a lot, from my memory, on like shock factor.
Yeah.
Not a ton, but like a lot of times, like is what makes it one of the greatest shows. You know what I mean? So rewatchability for me isn't as high as it is with other shows, and for me, that's why I don't have it as high. Still a 10 out of 10. I'm not like really knocking it. It's just
I'd agree with that. It's not really rewatchable. Like you can and you'll have a good time, but you're right. It's the shock factor that gets you. Yeah. No, you're right. My number 5 is in a very similar vein. I have Better Call Saul.
Okay.
I love Better Call Saul. I don't like it as much as Breaking Bad, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's weird because it's not slower. As suspenseful. It's a lot slower.
I feel like there's a lot of suspense.
There's a lot of suspense for sure, but it's more like I mean, we don't even hear the word Saul until what, season 3?
Yeah, but I feel like that's what makes it
100%.
It's a bit slow burn.
It's slower and like
big build up.
I don't know. There's just something about it. Like when I look on the show as a whole, it doesn't seem like a top 5 show to me. Maybe it's because it's just connected to Breaking Bad and like it's got that foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for real.
It's just really well made. All the characters are really well written. The dynamics between everyone is fantastic, and like it does a really, really good job of showing like how a somewhat normal person can just get themselves in deep shit, you know?
Yeah, for real. I agree. I really like the characters a lot. That's a good one. I guess we'll come to it, but I have that a little higher actually.
Yeah. I think looking at our lists here, I think ours are just swapped. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, as we approach, pretty much.
But yeah, so we'll get back into that as we go higher in the list. But what do you got it for?
For Seinfeld.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to even put higher, and I actually almost had it at 3. I probably should put it at 3. I don't know, but that is the best comedy, and I feel like you can just watch any episode at anywhere in the seasons, and it's good. Like you don't have to know the running storylines, but there are running storylines that make things even funnier.
Yeah,
but it's not necessary.
I'm actually watching Seinfeld right now. I think I'm on season 4.
Fuck yeah!
So I'm watching it for the first time now. I love it. I'm with you. It doesn't make my top 10 partially because I'm not finished with it, and partially
you still got a lot of good shit to go through.
Still got a lot of shit to go through, and from everyone that I talk to, like just the further on it goes, the better it gets.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm glad for that because right now it's like another top 10 show or another show that didn't make my top 10 is Letterkenny.
Yeah,
and it's for the same reasons of some of my criticisms of Seinfeld is like the jokes get a little repetitive, you know. It's George, and he's like, "Oh, I'm fat and I'm bald and I can't get any bitches," and all this shit. And that's like his one joke for at least the first 4 seasons. You know, like that's all he does is just complain.
What are you talking about?
What do you mean? Tell me I'm wrong.
So, I mean, that's like kind of like his essence, but the show's more about the day-to-day activities.
Right, but how many of his day-to-day activities, and again, I'm speaking only up until season 4, how many of his day-to-day activities do not involve him getting rejected by a woman or a potential employer?
Like, you just got to keep watching. What I have to say, I can't, because my impression, so when I first watched it, it would be after school, and it was like TBS or some shit, and they'd be going back in the old days with cable, and it would just have like some random episodes. So that was my first way of watching. I never saw it in order. And then I went back and watched it in order. So when I think of it, it's all like a big blob. I don't necessarily remember episodes as much. So I'm not good. I'm not equipped.
No, I feel it. Yeah. It's unfair
to
for me
discuss
to ask you
the
to
first four.
point out something specific from one episode. Like, I can never do that. But again, with a grain of salt, I'm only on season 4. These are just my observations so far. It's a very similar thing with Kramer, except Kramer has a lot more variety in like what he actually does. But it's
so wacky.
It's more or less just fucking, he busts in the door all sweaty and gross. And he's just like, I need to borrow clamps or whatever. Like, I don't even know. He's just a weird motherfucker. But I think that that's fair.
Fixes some of those issues that you're having problems with.
That's what I've heard too.
I'm thinking the women thing. So that's why it's like I can't say because that's part of his development.
Yeah, I know that he eventually gets a job with like the Yankees or some shit like that. But
that's so good, dude. Yes.
But yeah, so that's a great one.
That's my 4.
For my 4, we're jumping into a bit of a new genre. I am not like a huge anime fan. There have been a couple that I've seen that have been really good, and one of them is Naruto. I watched Naruto when I was a kid, and I loved it. As an adult, I grew up and kind of forgot about it, and then they had made like, they called it Naruto Shippuden, which was like grown-up Naruto doing shit. Shippuden, yeah. I don't even know what that word means, but it's like they just like continued the story, and I think they adapted it to like their kid audience that had since grown up, and so they made it kind of like a more serious show.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea.
It's way too many episodes. It's a lot of filler that I didn't watch.
I feel like that's all anime, but I like Dragon Ball Z, man.
That's like one of my main problems with it. It's like the genre as a whole is like, don't make filler. Just make episodes that matter. Like, you know what I mean? So Naruto's so fucking bad at it. But yeah, the episodes that are not filler, the episodes that have to do with the story, they're great. The series is egregiously long, but if you can get through it, it's so worth it.
Noted.
I just think, I don't know, anime has a good way of like just doing shit that you can't do with like an actual camera,
Right. Oh yeah.
And
of course.
I like watching that. So they
do good stuff.
That's one, if you have the time and the commitment, definitely go for it.
I saw like a couple episodes because I would always play after Dragon Ball Z when I was growing up, and I huge Dragon Ball Z fan growing up. So I never really watched it much, but I had friends that were all about it.
It's just one of those things that you get into it as a kid, because as a kid it's not anime, it's just a cartoon.
Right.
They did a good job of adapting it. They made a sequel show called Boruto, which is dog shit.
Boruto. That sounds like a fan made
right?
Like spin-off.
Dude, something about in these shows with their names, like fucking Boruto is Naruto's son and Naruto's dad was Minato. Like, they all just have like the same names. It's weird. I don't know why they do that, but I don't know. Anyway, that's my 4. Not much to say about that.
Well, I don't know if I'll ever get around to that one, to be honest, but
I don't blame
maybe.
you. It's long and it's worth it. Like the world building and just like the story in that show is so good.
All right, so number 3, we're coming back to Better Call Saul. So, yeah, I had it 2 spots higher than you, where you have it at 5.
So, actually, we can just talk about both of our number 3s at the same time right now, because mine is Breaking Bad.
So, this is kind of like chicken or the egg type thing. Would Better Call Saul, I was thinking about this as we were going, would I have it as high as it was if it weren't for Breaking Bad? And it wouldn't exist if it weren't for Breaking Bad. So, like, should Breaking Bad be higher because of that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the thing because, like, I think Breaking Bad is better because of Better Call Saul. Like, I watched Breaking Bad, I loved it, and then I watched Better Call Saul, and I had a better appreciation for Breaking Bad,
Wow, so kind of like the inverse of where I was going. That's good.
I think it comes down to, like, just personal preference. Like, I like kind of, like, the action more and, like, the suspense. Like, Better Call Saul has suspense, but it's very rarely, like, suspense that a character and their whole family is going to die, Like,
right.
Sometimes, don't get me wrong, but, like, most of the time, the suspense is like
court shit.
Yeah, court shit. Like, oh, is he gonna win this case? Does his brother actually have this like electronics allergy or whatever? It's a weird route that they took for that.
He's
but
a piece of work, man.
Dude, that honestly was one of the things that made the show for me. Was like the dynamic between Jimmy and his brother, Jimmy and Charles.
Yeah.
That, like, damn, they did that well. The way they built that relationship and then the way they resolved it, it was just so good.
God, yeah, dude. That courtroom episode, holy shit.
Oh, it was so good,
man.
with the battery, and that was like his first,
good,
like,
dude.
You see that as his first, like, kind of scheme,
Saul
that goes
moment.
a little bit outside the law. Yeah, the Saul moment. I love the origin of the name Saul Goodman. It's like, yeah, Saul Goodman.
Yes, that's where I was about to go. It's for me. I'm a big slow burn fan. Typically, I'm okay as long as the payoff's good, and that show absolutely paid off. Like even the first time you hear Saul, like it was like he finally said it. Like there's weight to the name because it's so underused, and I think that made it. There's almost like a transition you can really see within the season of when he switches from Jimmy to like the last half or the last season. Pretty much he's Saul, and he operates a lot more like Saul, and so
to the point where he's telling like his coworkers like, no, like he legally changes his name. I think.
Yeah, his DBA with it. Yeah, so it's like all. It feels more tangible, like his change.
Yeah,
which I mean it is. We see it, but I don't know. It was cool. I think that was a fun part of it. But if you don't like slow burns, definitely not your show. I don't think.
Well, and I like it too because I think they did a good job, especially if you watch Breaking Bad first, of like we met Saul and we came to like respect him, you know, as like a person.
Yeah.
Whereas you go back and then you watch Better Call Saul, and you see that no one around him really respects him except for Kim.
Yeah. So we see him earn it.
Exactly. You see him earn it, and even then, he doesn't really earn it. Like,
yeah,
when he changes his name to Saul, and everyone's making fun of him, like Saul Goodman, fuck kind of name is that? Like, what is this? Some kind of gimmick? Like, is that a stage name? Like, to everyone else in the show, it's so stupid, and rightfully so. But to us, it's like we've already kind of met him and seen like who he is, and we are like attached to that name. So it's like we kind of get to feel what he's feeling when everyone is saying that's dumb as fuck. We're over here as viewers just being like, yeah, like, is it though? You know?
Right. No, it's good. I like how we have these shows at the same level because I honestly say if I flipped it and I swapped these two shows, I would like, okay, it's like an argument there. It's just.
Yeah, same thing for me. It's like the reason Breaking Bad is above Better Call Saul for me is just because of my memory. Like, it's not that I think one show is better than the other. It's just that I remember enjoying watching Breaking Bad more than I enjoyed watching Better Call Saul. Slightly. You know?
Yeah, makes sense. I get that, man. That's a fun one. Okay, so
rounding
number
out the
two,
top
then I have Mad Men at that spot. I love Mad Men. That's definitely obviously one of my favorite shows. But that is from start to finish. I think that is so good, and I can't say much because you haven't seen it, so I'm trying not to spoil. But you're watching a deterioration of a man.
Yeah,
kind of like just spiraling, but it's a lot going on, and I'm a big period piece person, and I think the 60s are cool as shit, and it's set in the 60s, so it's like all the art, the stage design, all that looks so good. So that's a big drive for it, and John Hamm is amazing in that. That was his catalyst to get where he's at now, but that was peak TV at the time for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to get that one on my list too, because I've definitely, like, I've always heard of it, and I knew that it was a popular show, but I didn't know that it was like a top 2 worthy show, you know? I thought it was just kind of like a show that people liked, you know? Like the same way I think of Friends, where it's like, yeah, a lot of people really, really, really like Friends. Overall, it's just like objectively kind of mid.
Right, but... yeah. Popularity doesn't always equate to quality, I understand.
Right, like it's funny, but like put it up against other sitcoms. Like,
right. I agree with you, dude.
It's all right. You know, it's a decent show. It's a good show. It's not like top 2.
I agree.
So that's how I always thought of it, but I'll have to get on that. I haven't heard anyone explicitly say like
it's good, man.
It's just okay.
Good suspense, everything. It's good. So your number 2 though, divisive.
My number 2 is a bit controversial.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Game of Thrones. I really like Game of Thrones. I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. The ending sucked dick. I hated it.
But it wasn't bad enough to knock it down. I don't understand that.
The ending is the reason it's not number 1.
But it only knocked it off 1 peg?
Yes, because
that's insane.
Look, so everyone talks about the last season. It's like, oh, last season's trash, last season's trash. I think the last, like, 5 episodes are trash. I don't even remember how many episodes are in the last season.
Only 7.
It's only 7?
Yeah, it's fucking
Maybe the
stupid.
last, like, 4. Everything after Arya kills the Night King or whatever his name is.
I would say a little before that, too, is when they kill off Varys because he, like, was too stupid. Like, so he's the smartest guy in the show, arguably, up until that point. Then he's just so dumb that this happens. Like, that was just fucking absurd.
There's a lot of inconsistencies, for sure. Here's the thing, is, like, you're right. Like, logically, a lot of shit hit the fan in the last season. But, like, I still think the sequence, like, dude, I mean, one of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen is when they're lined up and they're ready for the the Night Walkers. I don't even know if I'm calling them the right thing. It's been so long.
The White Walkers.
The White Walkers. Thank you. What's the king's name? What do they call him?
The White King, I think.
The White King. I don't think
I
that's
don't
right.
know.
Anyway,
The Night King.
number 2 show, by the way. But the Night King. I don't know. The King. We'll call him the King. Like where they're all lined up and then they light their bows and the light kind of like spreads across their entire army. Like that whole opening sequence where that battle begins is so badass. It seemed like it was going to live up to the potential. It ended up not living up to the potential, but it seemed like it was going to. And up until then, what was the last season? Season 7? Season 6?
8, I think.
8?
I think.
I think you're right. Up until that last season, every season before that was so good, dude. Like, the fact that they kill off Ned Stark in the first episode, I saw that and I was like, this is gonna be my show. It's the exact opposite.
It was
of
at the end of
Stranger Things
season
problem.
1.
Was it the end of season 1? I thought it was
Yeah.
episode 1.
She had a season to love him, and then they're like, nah.
Oh, maybe. It's my number 2 show. I seem to know nothing about it, but
Dude, I'll say, all right, before we can dive, it was my number 1, like, by far. Number 2 was so far below that it wasn't even funny, but it was my number 1 for so much, because I watched it from, I think, season 3 or 4 live, and then on, so we had all the time in between episodes that week to, like, make theories, and, like, the culture around that show was amazing, and the community was so fun, and then in between seasons, there was all this making theories, but you did it for, like, months on end, stuff like that. It was so amazing with that aspect, on top of, like, the writing was top tier, all this shit. Once they passed the books, and it just, they didn't go as well, but the ending to me, I've never seen a show kill off seasons of character progression like they did.
yeah.
Like, Jamie went from, his arc is a fucking circle. He went from here and came all the way back. Like,
Yeah.
fucking stupid. And then, like, also how they died. If they would have just fucking took 2 steps to the right, those rocks wouldn't have fallen on them. Like, killed them in a cool way. And then, like, the fucking mistakes they had with the Starbucks cup, the fucking water bottles that you could see.
All
like,
right,
come
you
the
can't
fuck
fault
on.
him for a Starbucks cup.
Are you shitting me? Go on set with, like, even a smaller thing, and that's a huge deal to, like, they'll redo stuff to get things out of the way. And that's the most expensive show at the time, and they can't even get their fucking shit off the table? Come on.
I mean, it was dumb. Don't get me wrong. It was a really stupid mistake, but it didn't, like, I didn't notice it until I saw it on Twitter. You know,
There
like,
was that, and then the water bottles.
I never, to this day, I don't even know what you're talking about with the
When
water
they're in the
bottles.
circle, when they crown Bran the Broken, the fucking king and shit, they have water bottles under their fucking chairs. You can see it. That type of shit, bro. Like, come on. Like, they didn't give a fuck that last, like, it just, yeah, fuck that show. You
Oh,
have
that's
to-
hilarious.
I always heard you have to love something to hate it, and I fucking hate that show because I loved it so much, and I just can't. So,
See, that's why we just have different perspective. Because, like, if I were to have watched the first 7 seasons and then just said, fuck it, I'm not going to watch the last season, it would be undoubtedly number 1.
yeah, same.
You know what I mean? And
Legit
so,
same.
like, I know that it's, like, you can't just disregard the last season because it was stupid. I hate that they made Bran king. The motherfucker did nothing the entire time. He just walked around with
It's
a
so stupid.
fucking... yeah, it was so stupid. The ending was terrible, but just everything leading up to that was so damn good. Like, I had never seen anything like it.
And that ending killed rewatchability. I tried it once, and because then you watch it, like, oh, like the very first scene, I think it is, sequence or scene, whatever, is the dude running from the White Walker, and you're like, what is it? And then you come to like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything. You can go the whole show and do that now. So it's like, I can't even watch this. This is pointless.
Yeah.
Because it all ended up being a lot of fucking nothing. So stupid.
No, you're right. You're right. And I hate that you're right, but you are. And I
The own
knew
their
that
own
going into
actors
making this
shit
list.
on their show on the red fucking carpet about it.
Yeah, they did.
Come
They
on.
did. I know. But I don't know, man. The first 7 seasons were just, it like redefined TV for me. Like, everything that I had seen up until then became insignificant while I was watching Game of
I
Thrones.
agree. It redefined TV like as a whole, man. Like, it was.
So, and I will say one other thing that makes me probably not hate it as much. I was late to the train. I didn't start watching it until after the last season had already come out.
Oh shit. Okay.
I was not like waiting every week just to get disappointed.
This was years of my life. That's why I was like, oh my God.
And I get that. I probably would have a different list if I had watched it while it was coming out. But I knew that the ending was going to be bad, and so I was just trying to enjoy everything up until then, and then the ending came and it was dog shit, obviously. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might be in your same boat if I had watched it coming out, but
Like, picture when Jon Snow dies, you have to wait a year.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So we're like, fucked. And, like, they kill people. So, like, is he really dead?
Yeah.
And then, like, there's all these theories on, like, his eyes look like they turned blue.
Yeah.
And, like, so much, like, shit like that made the show so fucking cool,
yeah.
dude.
No, it did. It was sick. So I don't know.
So let's solve this shit real quick.
Bill,
How about
pass the
that?
box.
Fucking don't watch the last season.
Straight up. No, actually,
like,
if anyone
just
has not seen Game of Thrones, do not watch the last season. Just watch season 7 and just whatever ending
They
that
don't
you
listen.
want to happen, just pretend that's what happens, and you'll have a happy life.
I'm pretty sure. I think I talked to you. Did we talk about that? And I've talked to people before, and I'm like, don't watch the last season. Like, I have to. I'm like, it feels like
But
you
you
need
don't.
to, but like, swear to God, take my advice. You will thank me later.
Don't watch it. Just have it in your memory as one of the greatest shows.
I forgot a show because just made me think of it. Somebody told me that about House of Cards. Don't watch the final season
I heard
because
the
it was
same
so
thing.
bad. And I
Very
got down
recently.
there, and had that urge, like, I just got to watch it. But I was like, no, I'm going to take their word for it. And then I, like, let it be, and I talked to everybody, and they're like, but it ended so bad. I was like, oh, I didn't watch the last season because I was told this. And they're like, I wish I was you in this scenario. And I was like, oh, my God. So I made one good decision in my life.
Yeah,
Here
it
we go.
seems so stupid to not do that, but truly that's what I would do if I could watch Game of Thrones with no memory again.
Yep. I agree, man.
Anyway, let's round it out.
Number 1. It's kind of cliche somewhat since it's number 1 on a lot of things, but Sopranos, fucking GOAT show. That has the best rewatchability of any show I've ever watched.
Really?
No matter how many times I go back and rewatch it, because you first watch through it, you catch like the drama side of a lot of it, and there's a lot. It's one of the funniest shows, seriously, I've ever seen. But it's not supposed to be like huge comedy, but it is supposed to be funny. Then you go back and watch it, and then you kind of know what's gonna happen, so you just pay attention to other things. Then you realize how fucking funny someone was being. Then you watch it again, you're like, oh, that guy was doing this, and then you catch like one joke you didn't really hit with you before, and like 86 hours of amazing TV from start to finish. There wouldn't be a Game of Thrones, there wouldn't be Breaking Bad, any of this shit if it wasn't for Sopranos.
That's one of those shows that I'm surprised I haven't watched yet. Like, it's been on my radar for a long time, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Everyone says it's one of the greatest shows ever made, so that is high on the list. That's going to be watched this year by me.
And if you want to take on the journey, it really enhances it, I think, is if you watch, but you have to watch the whole show first. So you kind of have to do this on a rewatch. That made a podcast too, the guys, Michael Imperioli from season 2 of White Lotus. He and one of the other guys do a podcast, and they have the crew members back on to interview them, but they break down every single episode, like scene by scene. It's awesome. So that made me like really appreciate it even more.
They should do that with more shows. Like, I would love to see a Breaking Bad podcast of
Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston.
Yes, yeah. And
holy shit.
Because, they've done things since then. Like, they make
like a whiskey
content.
company or something.
Yeah, well, they do like content sometimes. Like, they'll do like certain shit. So I think that would be cool to see.
I would pay for that podcast.
I probably would pay for it too.
Yeah,
have you,
straight up.
This is going backwards a little bit, but have you seen the movie El Camino?
Oh yeah, we didn't even touch on that. I did like that. That was cool.
So I haven't seen it, and it's another one that I'm like, why haven't I seen it yet? Because I watched Breaking Bad years ago, but I heard that it's okay.
It's good. It's like a really long episode of Breaking Bad almost.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's on my list for sure.
It's all right.
So
don't go in thinking it's gonna be some Oscar-winning shit, but it's good.
Yeah.
There's nothing really to complain about.
Yeah, that's basically what I've heard. Anyway.
So you're number 1.
My one. Half of the people that listen to this are gonna go, fuck yeah, that's my man. The other half of the people are probably gonna be disappointed. But Attack on Titan, another anime, the only other anime on this list, and really the only other anime that I've actually like enjoyed. I've seen like maybe 2 others other than these 2, but
yeah.
This one is hard to start a little bit, like not really because it's suspenseful at the start, but it's just weird to look at for a little bit,
Like the art style?
The art style, and like the whole thing is like there's a society within these walls, and outside the walls are these giant titans who like eat humans, and so they're like protecting themselves in the walls. But when you see the titans, they're like big naked people, but like no like genitalia or anything like that. So it's like just weird to look at.
What the fuck? Yeah.
So it's weird to look at, but the story is one of the most insane stories I've ever seen created. Like,
no shit.
Like, I talk about
I've heard great things.
I talk about how Game of Thrones has like one of the best stories and like changed TV for me. Like, this was the same way. Like, for like 3 whole seasons, you think it's going to be one thing, and it seems pretty cut and dry. Oh, it's just humans versus Titans, and they have like cool like gear that lets them swing around or whatever. But like it takes a turn out of nowhere all of a sudden, and if you're paying attention throughout the show and like just kind of picking up on like weird things that happen, like, oh, like why did he say that? Like why did that happen? Like that's kind of a weird thing for them to do. Like if you're paying attention, you can kind of see this like shift start to happen, and then all in one episode it just like flips itself on its head. Everything you thought you knew about this whole world changes, and it becomes insane, dude.
No shit. Is it finished?
No.
Or is it still going?
It's going to be finished hopefully this year. That's like one of my complaints with it is
okay.
They released 3 seasons, and then they were like, season 4 is going to be the final season, to the point where in every title card they would do like the intro or whatever, and then it would pop up season 4, the final season. You're like, sick. And then they were like, actually there's going to be 2 parts to this season, and so they waited like a year or whatever, so it was basically a season 5, but they still called it season 4, the final season, part 2.
Sopranos did that shit.
And then they were like, well, actually, it's not going to be finished after season 4, the part 2 either. There's going to be season 4, the final season, part 2, like I don't even know what they called it, but they're
the epilogue.
Like, I don't even know. There's like, they released like a month or 2 ago, like a 70-minute episode or whatever.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, just like a super long episode. And then I think they're doing like one more of those, and then that episode's going to be the end, I think. I also heard something about there's going to be like a movie that is actually the end.
What the fuck?
But like, yeah, my one complaint with the show is they're taking fucking ever to finish it, and they just won't stick to one thing. They've told us it's going to be the end so long, but yeah, I don't know.
So your solution to their issue would be just like kind of get it together.
Get it together, yeah. So even if you
organized
are not an anime fan, like I said, I was not an anime fan, and really still am not. But this show is insane. It's beautiful, and you will be not disappointed if you watch this. I promise.
Hell yeah, I'll have to check it out. That one I want to watch, since it's not like super long. That's a lot more enticing, I would say.
Yeah. No, it's just, I don't know. Like I said earlier, it's just something about
Reddit
like animated shows. Like, yeah, I bet something about animated shows. It's like they can do a lot more, and like, you know, special effects can only go so far in like real shows. I know that's kind of insulting, but real shows.
No, you're right, man. It's reality kind of grounds things. But so to wrap all this up, I think we should solve each other's lists, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know.
So what would you change on mine?
On yours?
Is there anything you're like, what the fuck is that?
There's so many shows on yours that I haven't seen that, like, Stranger Things for me does not belong at number 6, but the only thing I've seen below that is I've seen 1 episode of Severance. So for me, the 1 episode of Severance, I feel like if it's all as good as the 1 episode that I saw, it was like a random one in like the middle of whatever season.
Oh shit, weird.
Yeah, because I was just at my parents' house, and I walked down and my dad was watching it. I was like, oh, okay, what's this? And I just watched it.
Okay.
So that 1 episode alone is better than like every episode in season 4 of Stranger Things, in my opinion.
Fair, honestly, man. I would not argue. It's like the reason I couldn't do it higher was this lack of episodes. I was scared to do it because the Game of Thrones scarred me. I can't.
Yeah.
Season 1 Game of Thrones, I'd be 1 out of 1, but knowing how it ends, it's like, ooh. So I'm like, I don't know, it might end shitty.
Yeah, exactly. Know? So there's that, and then, you know, kind of what you literally just said, Seinfeld. I haven't seen all of it, so I can't accurately rank it, but from what I've seen so far, it goes nowhere near Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, and you just kind of wedged it in the middle there.
Just wait.
Yeah, I would maybe revise yours by saying Sopranos 1, Mad Men 2, Better Call Saul 3, Breaking Bad 4, Stranger Things. See, I don't know. It's hard. I would put Seinfeld below Stranger Things is what I'm trying to get at. But it's kind of like my thing where like I can't put a sitcom in my top 5, you know?
That's the only one I can put up there because I want to put The Office in that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I get it. Yours, man, the anime too, I can't say anything about. Game of Thrones will just not even be anywhere on this document we have. Just completely eliminated.
Yeah. No, I understand.
And then same with Ozark. I think I would just completely just not at all.
Yeah.
Peaky Blinders, I would scoot down maybe. I get why people can like it, but I don't know. I like it, what I know.
Yeah, fair enough.
I like your list, man. Not a lot I would change. My you mentioned some of your shout out your movies that you want to shout out. I had or shows. My only 3 I put was Watchmen. That limited series is fucking amazing, and I've yet to even read the actual graphic novel or watch the movie beforehand, and I've only seen the show, and it was that good. So it's supposed to be better if you knew more going into it. But I kind of knew about some of the characters. But anyway, amazing
I've heard
show.
good things.
A lot of people hated it because they touch on a lot of stuff that was going on in 2016 around that time. So there's like race stuff going on. Thanks. So a lot of people were like, ooh. Anyway, Defending Jacob, another Apple TV Plus. That's a limited series. That's fucking amazing. It's with Chris Evans, and he's a lawyer, and his kid is accused of killing this other kid.
Okay.
Fucking great, dude. One of the best limited series
Yeah,
I've ever
never
seen.
heard of it.
And then Beef just came out. Fucking Beef is so good. I wanted to put it in higher, and I still might at some point.
That's another HBO one, right?
No, that's Netflix, actually. It's A24 Studio. So they make like The Whale. They're killing it with movies and stuff with this show they're doing, and it is so good.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I could have sworn I saw an ad for it on HBO, but yeah, mine. I have a few more on the outside looking in list. So I'll just kind of say a quick thing about each of them. I have Psych as one of my shows. Great show, but it's like the humor's really old and it's just kind of like a detective show, like anything else. I have SpongeBob on here just for the childhood. Entourage is a great show, but it's nothing super special. Letterkenny is great for the first few seasons, and then the jokes get really repetitive. Black Mirror has too many bad episodes to go in the top 10, but a lot of really good ones.
Yeah, I like
American Vandal is a great show if you're looking for a couple seasons of just stupid laughs. Have you seen American Vandal?
No idea.
It's 2 separate, like, the seasons are pretty separate from each other, but, like, for example, the first one, they're trying to figure out who's the culprit that spray painted dicks on all the teachers' cars in the staff parking lot. And, like,
wait, is this about, like, it's like kids?
Yeah, they're, like, at a high school. And
I've heard of this.
They're, like, the idea is, like, they're making a documentary, and, like, what you're watching is the documentary that was made by the kid.
Okay. That's funny.
And it's just stupid humor. Shoresy's on this list as well. It's a Letterkenny spinoff. Same shit. Community, like I said, the last, like, 3 or 4 seasons were absolute dog shit. As soon as Donald Glover leaves that show, it becomes terrible.
I can see that.
Rick and Morty, I watched in college. It was like, it's good. It's fallen off. Their creator is, I don't know if, is that confirmed? I thought I heard something about, like, they proved the accusation's false, but
they dropped the charges or something, but I think he's still fired.
Yeah,
Justin
so
Roiland.
just, like, keep that out of there.
Yeah, he's in hot water.
The Walking Dead was great Sunday nights in high school, but, like, I stopped watching. I still need to finish the last season. Every once in a while, I go back and I watch a few episodes.
Yeah.
It kind of similar to SpongeBob. It's just the nostalgia. It's like a show I used to really, really like. And then 2 shows that I haven't finished, but might be ranked after I finish them. Cheers, really old sitcom, and The West Wing are pretty good shows.
Some people heard you say really old sitcom, like, motherfucker, I grew up watching that. What are you talking about?
I don't even know. I mean, it is old. Like, how old is Cheers?
I think it was 80s.
Oh, yeah, 80s to 90s. So I guess not, like, super old, but, like, it's an old show. It's 40 years old at this point. That's old,
That's funny. Yeah, no, I get you, man. That is. We got some good lists, dude. I like what you had. I think we'll post these for you guys to see. Well, this was fun, man. Glad to be back, ready for this season to get going and the exciting stuff we have coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too, man. It's going to be a good time. This is going to be a good season. I can feel it in my bones.
Well, thanks for listening. New episodes are released every Monday. Be sure to rate the podcast and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to watch the video of the episode, or if you want to check out our new video series, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Critical Solutions. Visit our website at criticalsolutionspodcast.com and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. The links are in the episode description if you want a quick way to follow us. All right, man. Well, guess I'll see you next week.
Later, man. Have a good one.